All right, today we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most powerful and most secretive companies on the entire planet. And to really get what they do, we've got to start with a few, well, seemingly disconnected scenes from all over the world.
Picture this, on the Eastern Front, right in the thick of it, you've got software suggesting targets to commanders. It's almost like a waiter recommending the daily special. This is a digital kill chain, and it's all happening in real time.
Okay, now let's jump back home. Here, police are being told where to patrol, right? But it goes deeper. They're even being told which people to keep an eye on. And get this, it's not based on anything they've actually done. It's all about what an algorithm thinks they might do.
And then there's healthcare. Imagine one of the most sensitive, most valuable collections of data you can think of, the private medical records of an entire nation, while all of that is being handed over to a single private company.
So what connects all of these scenes? What's the common thread? Well, it's a single, often invisible force, a data analytics giant called Palantir Technologies. And to really understand just how powerful this company is, we've got to go back to the beginning.
Yeah, you see, Palantir wasn't born in some garage with a fuzzy dream of connecting the world. Now, this company was forged in crisis. Two very different, but very much related crises.
Okay, so the first crisis, it was all about money. At PayPal, Peter Thiel's team was in a constant battle with online fraud, and they were learning that software could spot these tiny criminal patterns that no human ever could. The second crisis was, well, existential. The 9/11 Commission report came out, and it was a bombshell. It basically said that U.S. intelligence agencies had all the pieces of the puzzle to stop the attacks. They just couldn't put them together. They couldn't connect the dots. And that's when Thiel saw the connection.
And this really gets to the core of the problem, right? You had the NSA, the FBI, the CIA, all of them with their own separate databases. They were like these digital kingdoms that didn't talk to each other. So Thiel's vision was, honestly, pretty simple but totally revolutionary. Build a piece of software that could just smash down those digital walls, fuse all that siloed data into one single, searchable, basically all-seeing platform.
And that vision? It became two incredibly powerful products that would go on to change how decisions are made, not just in war rooms, but in corporate boardrooms too.
So on one hand, you have Gotham. This became the go-to tool for the U.S. military in Iraq and Afghanistan. It let soldiers connect the dots and actually see insurgent networks in ways that were impossible before. Then there's its corporate cousin, Foundry. This one quietly became the digital brain for huge companies like Airbus, BP, and JP Morgan, helping them make smarter, faster decisions.
And that brings us to this quote from Palantir CEO Alex Karp. I mean, it's just shockingly blunt. He's never been one to shy away from the deadly serious nature of what they do. It's a universe away from that typical Silicon Valley talk about making the world a better place, isn't it?
And that blunt reality that this software is used to kill people, that really gets to the heart of all the controversy around Palantir. You see, this kind of power, the power to predict and to target, it comes with some huge ethical questions. So, let me tell you a story from the War on Terror that just perfectly illustrates this dilemma. The software flags a guy wearing a purple hat, says he's a known insurgent. A drone strike is scheduled, but there's an operative watching the live feed and something just doesn't feel right to him. He trusts his gut and calls off the strike, just moments before it happens. And guess what? The real target shows up a few minutes later. Turns out a camera glitch had made some random innocent guy's hat look purple. The tech is incredibly powerful for sure, but it's also dangerously fallible.
Now let's bring it back home, because this leads to the whole controversial idea of predictive policing, using data to guess where crime is going to happen. And here's the problem critics point to. These tools can create these really dangerous feedback loops. It works like this. If the old data is biased, the algorithm sends more cops to certain neighborhoods. Okay, more cops means more arrests, and those new arrests get fed back into the system as proof that the algorithm was right all along, which just reinforces the original bias over and over again.
And believe me, the list of controversies just keeps on growing. We're talking about helping ICE plan raids on undocumented workers, making secretive deals with police departments, and then there's that massive UK health contract. I mean, they handed over the private data of millions of people. It really makes you ask, what happens when your public health system depends on a private, for-profit surveillance company? Every time Palantir expands, these concerns about privacy and civil liberties follow right behind.
So you start to see this huge, profound contradiction at the very heart of the company. I mean, think about it. The founder, Peter Thiel, is one of the most famous libertarians on the planet. He's a guy who preaches individual freedom and is against government overreach. And yet,
His company built the ultimate tool for state surveillance and control.
Okay, so fast forward to today. Palantir is definitely moving out of the shadows. It's being supercharged by the AI boom, and its ambitions now go way, way beyond just its counterterrorism roots.
Just look at this number, 1,600%. That's the approximate growth of its stock in the years after it went public in 2020. That says it all, doesn't it? This isn't just some company anymore. It's a full-blown Wall Street phenomenon, valued in the tens, sometimes hundreds of billions of dollars.
And if you're wondering what their goal is, well, the CEO makes it pretty explicit. This isn't about healthy competition or just grabbing market share. The goal, in his own words, is domination.
Their newest big push is into generative AI. They've built this new platform that doesn't just analyze what's already happened, it uses AI to suggest actions to shape what happens next. And it's already being used in some of the most secure places on the planet to build the Pentagon's next-gen AI kill chain. We're talking about a system where AI helps find, track, and engage targets faster than any human possibly could.
So what's the end game here? Palantir's ultimate strategy is to become completely indispensable. They don't want to be just another piece of software. They want to be the fundamental operating system for the West's most important institutions. And the thing is, once they're that deeply embedded, trying to remove them is, well, it's been described as being like an amputation.
And that leaves us with one final, and I think really crucial question. In this age of total information, when one single company can see the entire board, can predict the next move, and can even suggest which pieces to take off it, who's really playing the game?